And the ring in the middle, please. Could you change the position? Yes, and yes. Neck white, neck is better.
Good. All right, guys. All in the middle here.
Please to the right.
And change the for this side. Here.
Please look at this.
Smaller group.
Can you come a little bit closer?
All right, guys. Let's start with this camera.
Here, please. Next here, yeah. Good.
And now on the right.
その下もお願いします。寺田さんもちょっと頑張ってもらってみましょうか。ありがとうございます。はい、すみません。
Here, left again.
And one more here.
Good.
Go on to the center, please.
And here.
And one more on the right, please. Yeah. Great.
僕に見てください。
Singles, please.
Just wait.
Next camera. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hand to the right, please.
カットで笑顔でお願いします。ありがとうございます。
One more to the center, please.
And one more for me.
Thank you.
Next camera, please. Here. Thank you. Very good. Stand to the left, please. Left, two. More left, please.
For me? For me? For me? Ah, you look so nice.
One in the center again.
Then was a way to
And
left
what's
again.
wrong with it?
And up again. Up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Fortunately, there are two animated films in this year's competition. The first comes from a country with a long tradition of animation art, from Japan to be precise, Suzume by Makoto Shinkai. It tells the story of a young girl, about 17 years old, a completely fantastic film, who suddenly finds a door between two ruins. And when she opens the door, doors open all over Japan and harm comes into the country through these doors. She bravely takes up the fight against these catastrophes, and thus the film also makes reference to a sense of time that we are all just too familiar with right now, precisely this catastrophic situation, but also to the fight and the hope that harm might be defeated. Watch the press conference for the Japanese animated filming competition at the Berlinale, Suzume, which is also the name of the girl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. 聞こえます。はい、聞こえてます。なおちゃん聞こえてます？聞こえてる。
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the press conference for Suzume, presented today in competition at this 73rd Berlinale. I will now introduce our guest, starting from your left. He's been involved with some of the most successful Japanese films of the past 2 decades. He's also a writer and an awarded filmmaker, but it is as the producer of Suzume that we are proud to welcome today Genki Kawamura.
Thank you.
His beautiful films have had phenomenal success in Japan and abroad. Suzume was released recently in Japan to rave reviews and popular success, and now the rest of the world cannot wait to discover it. Please welcome director Makoto Shinkai. Her experience as an actor belies her young age. She's the delightful voice of Suzume and takes us on a roller coaster of emotion. Nanokahara. I will just ask the first question and then the microphones will be with you. A question for Shinkai-san. Suzume is many things. It's a moving drama, a love story, a suspenseful disaster film, and it's also a road movie through Japan. I wanted to hear you about what you wanted to show of your country, and tell us about these locations. Do they exist in real life?
そうですね。一言で言うのはなかなか難しいんですけれども。
Well, in a word, it's hard to summarize it quickly. I wanted to say the following. I wanted to present the Japan of today in my film. And what is today's Japan? I thought, what are the locations I should show? And these sort of desolate settlements and buildings, that's what came to my mind. In other words, places where people can no longer live. Why do these places exist? Was it a natural disaster? Was it because the number of people living in Japan is going down? These are all part of it. And that was the sort of place I wanted to show. And after all, one of the building blocks of the film is the tsunami disaster which happened 12 years ago. And Suzume goes back to that. So in this film, the girl Suzume goes on a journey. She visits all these places which are desolate and left and ends up in the northeastern region. That's the story.
Hi, I'm Matej Patliak for Animoko from Slovenia. And I would like to ask a question to Mr. Makoto Shinkai. It's the first anime film since Spirited Away at Berlinale in the competition program, and which then won the Academy Award and also the Golden Bear, which I wished for you too. And I would like to ask if you can make a comment about how important is it for animation film to be present at competition programs at such big film festivals. And this year is the first year that there are 2 animation films in the competition program, so I would like to ask you also if you're planning to see the other animation film for competition at Berlinale too. Thank you very much.
そうですね。まず21年ぶり日本アニメーションがノミネーションということに関しては、
It is the first time for 21 years that a Japanese animated film is at the Berlin Festival. I really remember the last time very well because it was when I just sort of started a budding career as a director in animation, and that's when Mizuki Haraho got the Golden Bear at the Berlinale, and I was really impressed that this film was also so recognized outside of Japan, and I'm very pleased and find it quite hard to believe that I'm now sitting here together with Ms. Hara and Mr. Kawamura. I don't know whether I can win the Golden Bear, but I would say the fact we are here has something to do with the fact that 12 years ago this great disaster is still very much on the minds of the people in Japan, and I hope that this is a memory and a story which is not forgotten worldwide.
Nice to see you again. I've seen the movie today for the second time, and first time on the big screen. It's even like, you do not get tired of it. And I've got 2 short questions. First one, this story on the one hand is very Japanese. It's about Japan, it's about your country, it's about your disaster. But as I was watching it, especially today, I related to it on a universal level. I was remembering about my country, about the disasters that happened with us, and I had like the same feeling. I understood the character completely. Was it your intention to make it like not only about Japan, but about everything that sort of happens bad in the world and then about the aftermath, or it just like a side effect of a really good story?
Maybe just one question per person, because there's a lot of them. Thank you.
はい。まずはウクライナの一日も早い平和を祈っています。
Well, I would first of all like to see that the war in Ukraine is ended as quickly as possible and that peace can return. I would say Suzume is a typical Japanese film, but I wanted to focus on life, on everyday life of the Japanese people. I wanted to focus on the history there which happened in Japan. We didn't have an eye on the global market for this film, and yet I think that this approach may well mean it gives us a chance to address subjects which are really universal. And I think that for the first time, when we want to do this sort of thing, we have to start in our own country with our own history, but then universal issues can also be addressed.
Waiting for the translation, sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My name is Akira Kato from Kyoto News from Japan. 共同通信の加藤明と申します。よろしくお願いします。I want to ask a question about when have you planned to be seen in foreign countries or foreign people? いつ海外の方に見てもらおうと思ってこの映画を作るどの段階で海外の方に見てもらうことを意識されたかということをお伺いしたいと思います。
はい、わかりました。先ほどお答えしました通り、申し上げました通り、
As I already said,
最初から最後まで
speaking personally,
日本の観客にまずこの映画を届けたいと思いました。
I've always thought that what we first of all need to focus on is the Japanese audience. And there's quite a natural progression from that to also be able to reach out to an international audience. And from the very beginning, Mr. Kawamura and I aligned very closely. And so the producer always told me, we also have to keep an eye on the international scene. Wasn't that right? Yes. I also do live action films. But I did know Mr. Shinkai, who is a brilliant director for animated films, and that is why from the very beginning I also thought this would be a film we wanted to present to an international audience too. So I do agree with Mr. Shinkai entirely. The subjects that really matter to us are the ones we need to tackle, and if that then means it's something which is interesting to the world, then it's great.
Thank you. Mr. Kawamura, you were talking about producing live-action films, and you're currently producing a live-action version of Mr. Shinkai's film, Your Name. Would you imagine Suzume as a live-action film?
I don't really know. I would say the talent of Mr. Shinkai is something where I always ask myself, what's the story he wants to tell and how to present it, particularly in animated film. There are many options there, and I'm very interested in that, which is why, I mean, I didn't think we'd turn this into a live-action film, no. I think I couldn't do that. No.
Hi, David Lobjanidze from Litagora, a magazine on culture from Georgia. My question is, before the question, like traditionally we are used to, at least in the Western culture, in tales, we see like that usually spell is put on a female character, then male character comes to save the character, and then all is set. So, but here the roles are flipped. It's all other way around. I'm interested how important for you it was to have a strong female lead character, and also especially being a male. What were your inspirations? Did you draw some inspiration from some certain characters, or in fiction or in real life?
はい、そうですね。実在する誰かを元にしてということはありません。ただ、
Well, it's not as if I took some existing person as a role model. No.
まあ少女が男性を助ける物語にはなっています。
But as you said, here we have a situation where it's a young woman who saves the man.
固定的な、古典的な考えから自由に描くというのはもう最近の映画に限らず、漫画であったりとか
portray the role of the man in the traditional world. I didn't want to have this, and I wanted to be disassociated from this traditional male role, and that is reflected in literature and in films these days, and I was struck by that. So when I worked on the character of Suzume, I used Kiki's delivery service as a bit of an inspiration, because in that film too, Kiki is the protagonist, the female lead, and she starts in the film as a teenager, slowly grows older, and she encounters many different adults on her journey, which makes her more adult herself, mature. She takes a lot from that, and that film is something which was filmed much earlier than Spirited Away, and that was a film which was truly impressive and inspiring. And it did inspire me for Suzume too.
We must hear Ms. Haha about the character of Suzume. Could you please tell us what Mr. Shinkai told you about this character and how you became her?
そうですね。声のお芝居自体初挑戦だったので。
Yes, it was for me the first time, but I actually worked as a voice actor in a film. It was a first experience for me, and it meant I really had a lot of exchanges with Mr. Shinkai, and I asked him what I was supposed to do, because I didn't know how to act here. And he told me I should just be the way I am. And several times we shot a few scenes, more than once, and I think, yeah, something really good has come out of it. I'm very grateful for having this opportunity, and had every trust in Mr. Shinkai. Absolutely. Ms. Hara was absolutely right in what she said. It was a new experience for her to simply lend her voice. But that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to face up to this challenge and to grow with the character. That was my wish in this, and obviously this also affected the character of Suzume. And I was very pleased that at the beginning, Ms. Hara was so worried about getting it right. It worked out really well.
Mr. Shinkai, I'd like to know what is so special for you about telling stories in the genre of anime?
はい、そうですね。僕はアニメーションというのは、
Yes.
とても幅の広い観客にリーチする力がある。
As a genre is quite broad in scope, and it allows you to reach out to a very large audience. When you look at some of the animated films from other directors, you will see that older people, for example, go to such a film together with their grandchildren. And in the case of Suzume too, we have children and older people as a possible audience. They can all enjoy this. I consider that animation is something which makes sense in addressing big issues like the 12-year-ago disaster, because with animation you can reach out to so many people. But it is an entertainment film, and as such it reaches out to people. If I were to tell you this is a film which deals with a great tsunami, then I don't think so many people would ever watch it. But with animation, you can actually achieve quite a lot.
Hi, this is Rodrigo Fonseca from Brazil, from Estado de São Paulo. I have a couple of questions. First of all, to Mrs. Kawamura. The art direction, the production design of the film is absolutely amazing, and we have the sensation it may be an expensive production. I would like to understand a little bit about the financial equation to the film, the budget, the time of production. And to you, Mr. Shinkai, somebody mentioned, for obvious reason, Miyazaki, but for me, there is a strong melodrama portion in the film. The love story, the relation of Suzume with her mother. And for me, it's easier to relate to your film with the masters of Japanese melodrama, Nikio Naruse, even Ozu, than with Miyazaki. I would like to hear about melodrama, the influence of melodrama to you as a genre. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. そうですね。この作品は確かに日本映画の中でバジェットがかかっている方だとは思いますが、宮崎監督には到底及ばないバジェットだということを。
Did indeed use a lot of money in making it. It was an expensive film.
ただ
I can be quite open about that.
今回いろいろな手法のハイブリッドをしていまして、日本の優れたアニメーターたちの手書きの
We worked with a lot of different experts, with many brilliant animators from Japan and Mythology, in particular, should be mentioned. And Mr. Shinkai, the director, also adapted light and colors. He did that himself, which is quite unusual. So there were many artists from different fields from all over Japan who came together and worked as a team to finish this film. And Suzume, in this film, the melodramatic part is quite considerable, yes, but I want to entertain an audience with this film, after all. And from the beginning, it was my objective to reach a large number of people, a large audience. I want to entertain this audience. Even if, for example, this film would not have been shown at any festival, I don't think it would have been so bad for it, because what I wanted was to get lots of young people to be able to see this film. In Japan, a ticket to go to the cinema is very expensive, so I wanted to make sure that the film was entertaining, so that nobody regrets having spent so much money to go to the cinema and see this film. That was important to me.
Hi, Carlos Grau from Spain for Cultural Resuena. Thank you very much for this wonderful movie. I think we are super happy that it's in competition, super emotional. My question is two details, small details, and it's jazz music and cats. So we have different instruments, wind instruments, piano, violin. This sequence where Suzume is trying to catch the chair, I forgot the name, Sotuo or something like that?
Suta.
Suta, thank you very much. All this sequence is a wonderful passage of jazz music. I was curious about your taste in music. And regarding cats, they represent an important role. And I know that in Japanese culture, cats are quite important. If you could talk a bit about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
そうですね。まずじゃあ猫の話からします。
Well,
僕は猫をずっと飼っていまして、子供の頃からずっと猫と一緒に。
I must say, a cat is something I've had for a long time. I've had cats since I was a child. And even during the production phase of the film, I gave home to a new cat, and I called it Suzume, as it happens. I don't know exactly to what extent cats are to be considered important in Japanese culture, but I believe in the social media, cats are some of the most popular things that people like all over the world. That's why I created this cat called Daishi. And as far as the music is concerned, well, there's also the big band we worked with, and maybe Mr. Kawamura can say more about that. And yes, we've been working with this band Red Wings since the film Your Name. And they also create orchestra music, rock music, chamber music. I thought it was particularly interesting that they can cover so many different genres, which is why it was possible to have so many different genres reflected in this film, including jazz.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Shinkai and the whole team. Nice to meet you. My name is Markus for Uncut Austria.
Hello, Mr. Shinkai and the whole team.
Thank you for maybe single-handedly turning me into an anime fan. That was a very beautiful movie. And in a time where the artistic merit of animation is questioned far too often, this was a very giant statement. Thank you for that. Because and I'm calling it that, the cinematography in this movie is just beautiful. So my question would be about your storyboarding process. How do you come up with the shots? Are they always in your head? Do they come up as you go, or are your animators involved in the process? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Regarding the storyboard, as a matter of principle, I worked on that on my own. It took me 1 year and 3 months to do that. I worked digitally, which meant I put together a storyboard for a film that was to last 2 hours. And of course, there are sketches I did as well. And the dialogue of the characters are also developed on this basis. And I actually speak them myself. I say it in a loud voice because that gives me the rhythm of the dialogue. And it was very important in this process to me that the rhythm and the sound would really fit. That's a sort of video account which I did for it. And all that material I gave to Ms. Hara. So they were my own audio recordings that she and the team listened to. And with the band Red Wings, we also worked with them and aligned with them because we already knew for which sequences the music was supposed to be there, and we told them about it. And that was the sort of overall concept which we put together. And it was only when we had this ready did we add the visual elements and finish them.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, not a double one.
Okay. Thank you. It's Yannis Raouzeos from myfilm.gr in Greece. It was an astonishing film, and I really love cats and jazz, as the Japanese people like it very much as well. I'd like to ask you about the form and the meaning that the myth has inside your film. The myth about the spirits, the godlike persons, and the interpretation that takes inside the relation of a lady that lost her mother and what emotionally is striking on us. Thank you.
Hi. そうですね。この映画は、神話。
This is a matter which shows that this film delves into Japanese mythology, and there are many stories which inspired me. There is the protagonist of Suzume, and in Japanese mythology there is also a character called Usume. And Usume in the myth is somebody who dances when the door to the sun closes. That's when she dances, so the sun doesn't vanish behind this door. And this is a story which served as my inspiration, and I did put this into the film. So yes, Japanese mythology as well as Greek mythology, they too have many similarities. The structure is very similar. And we love Greek mythology as well as Japanese mythology, and both are loved all over the world. And I think there are many universal values which are living on and are carried on in these myths. And this is why I always look into old Japanese legend and myths before I do a film.
Many thanks to you, to our guests. Congratulations and have a wonderful premiere.